So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to teach ESL to lower primary. And if we're just meeting, my name is April, and on this channel, I give you tips and information for how to teach ESL online and in the classroom. If that is something you would like to see more of, please consider subscribing. So when I'm talking about lower primary, I'm referring to maybe first grade to around third grade, thereabout. When they're just coming out of preschool, they're still getting the vocabulary they need for English, and they're pretty much young, so they still need a lot of guidance. But what I really love about this year group is that they're always excited to do things. They want to just do things with you. They're, pretty much not just based on like moodiness or their personality as yet. They're just excited. But you do need to guide them a lot because they're pretty young and they are still developing their language skills. But there are a lot of things you can do with this year group. So since they're just coming out of infantile, right, especially for the first of primary, what is important to know is that usually, especially if when I say infantile, I mean preschool, they have a method of how they have been learning already. So if you're just starting with them, you can do basic songs that they should know and see how they respond to it. They may even show you the moves that they know, because usually actions are really helpful for them to remember the words, right? Another thing is that they are still building their vocabulary, but the system is that they still, the school curriculum wants them to start speaking more. Because it's language, they need to be able to have conversations. So usually it's not just learning one word or two, but to be able to use them in sentences, to be able to respond, to be able to ask questions, or even just make statements that are really common, right? So those things are usually concentrated on a lot, such as may I go to the bathroom? Can I sharpen my pencil, please? Classroom language is really important, and the teacher may ask you to focus on that. I also want to say that in Spain, specifically if you are in Spain, there are certain bilingual subjects that you may be teaching in, such as science, music, I believe history. In some schools, I haven't done history mostly, I think. With science, you can have natural science or social science. So a bit of history maybe in social science, actually. And as well as others. So why I tell you about this is because you're not just doing grammar and stuff. You're actually teaching the vocabulary of those subjects in English to the students. And there are a lot of methods to do that, because while they're learning the subject, it's within a different language. You get me? So how do you structure the lessons for your lower primary? Now, the way you structure your lessons will really depend on the amount of control, let's say, you have in a class, meaning that as a language assistant, you're always supposed to be assisting the teacher. Yet there are some instances where the teacher will ask you to prepare your own lesson plans in order to teach them, or you are to assist the teacher, like they have their lesson plan and you may be there to help with pronunciation or to create games or different activities to complement what the students are already learning. So what you do will really depend. But let's talk about the two scenarios. Now, if you are the main teacher, right, what I find really useful is to pretty much take the method that is used in preschool, and you can check out the video I did about teaching preschool where we use routines, but you add more to it, right? They need to be learning more. They are growing. They're able to, be challenged a bit more. Not too much because they're still young, but a bit more, right? So you have the routines, how you usually do the lessons, but you can have more instructions that you give the student. You can have more activities, and at this age, they're able to write more. So you can actually create worksheets for them to write along, so that they are developing other skills like writing and reading too. So you can have different activities that maybe they need to read a poem about autumn, right? Because I did that in as an activity before, so they were able to read. So you're able to add on as you get what I'm saying. And also you can utilize a method of having a mini teacher. Now this is very useful because first of all, they are so excited for this, right? So you have to rotate so the students feel like they all have gotten a chance. Yet, now the mini teacher basically just shadows what you have been doing and they teach the class. Now the thing is that you have taught the class before whatever material that you're doing, and now the mini teacher is basically repeating you, right? So it gives them a way to practice, but now one student is in charge and they are the ones who will maybe pinpoint different students to say a certain phrase or to identify an item on the board. So they feel like they have more authority. It's just fun, but it helps them to repeat, and the other students are willing to engage usually, and they're so excited because they know that they'll have their turn next. So it's just a good method of having fun, right? Now, if you are mainly shadowing the teacher and supplementing, what you can do is prepare games and other activities to supplement the lesson plan. Now, you can still do this if you are like the main teacher. However, in this particular area, you'll have to, it will be very useful for you to get the curriculum that the teacher has for maybe that term or the worksheet, whatever it is, and then try to plan different games that you think will be useful. For instance, you can create a bamboozle. You know, if it's science, for instance, you can create a bamboozle talking about the simple machines, and the student they have to identify those particular machines, different things like that. Also within the class, I would suggest that, you know, even though you're shadowing the teacher, it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. So I've found it's helpful for me to be assertive, to be like, could we do this? What do you think about this? And the teachers are usually very happy to hear your suggestions, you know, that they think will be very helpful for the class. So when you suggest something like an activity, they may be happy for you to do it that day or the next. But I hope I'm helpful here in making it clear that the teacher still has a main lesson plan, right? But you are there to help and to create an atmosphere where it feels as if like things are just being very productive. Maybe you can help the teacher with assessing the students if they need to do an activity where they are speaking to each other, like role playing, you know? So I'm going to actually be doing another video about the games that you can play with primary, so look out for that. So another tip with the lower primary is that they are pretty much babies, right? So you may need to do different things in order to maintain classroom control, not because they are they want to be disrespectful. They're just very hyperactive maybe, and you know, they're still getting into, you know, this environment where they need to be able to learn how to control themselves and to focus on the activity. So you'll have to utilize a lot of classroom management, especially if you are the main teacher. What I found is that maybe you can establish some sort of what would you call it, a sign or something to say, okay, now everyone be silent, such as raise your hand, or singing a song, like just to get their attention. I would, for me personally, I would say don't rely too much on the gimmicks, you know, because you don't want it to feel like they can't, like, okay, as kids, they need to learn to be disciplined, but they need help, right? So it's just finding and maintaining the balance. But I did want to give this suggestion because it's very helpful for you to have different ways or ideas to establish the classroom control just so things can be more productive. And usually you have the teacher there to help you, but just in case, like, think about different ways in which you can establish the class. And I've actually done this method with a very particularly difficult class, right, where I literally put a timer on the board, and in that specific time the whole class is to be silent. If they're not, the timer restarts. Now, this was with a particularly difficult class, meaning that there were a lot of hyperactive students in the class that were distracting others. But usually just a simple song, a simple sign works well, right? Watch this video about teaching preschool, and I'll be coming out with how to teach upper primary soon. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.